Having driven the JMEV EV2 a couple of weeks ago, it's about time that we drive this JMEV EV3, a higher model in JMC's lineup. Special thanks to JMC Philippines for lending me out this EV3, and shout out to Seagull PH. Actually, I saw them here a couple of weeks ago with this exact car too. How about that? Like that of the EV2, and if you're new to the channel, this is actually a joint venture between JMC and Renault. Hence, you can see a lot of the Renault cues once again with this vehicle. But to be honest, this looks like more of a twin Gotion. Anyways, but there's a lot of upgrades now compared with that of the EV2. Naturally, you still get projector LED lights. You have a ground clearance too of 120 millimeters, 10 millimeters more than that of the EV2, which means it's better to go up my steep ramp in my condo. And the grille that will get most people's attention because this gives a light dance even when you are moving. So that's why naturally I left it on most of the time. And just a thought right now with this JMEV logo, it literally looks like the Renault logo. Anyways, down the side profile, still being based on the EV2, but this one's just a little bit longer than usual. Same too with its wheelbase. You get repeaters and cameras underneath, which is a nice touch with this EV3. And these are running on 165, 65, and 15 series tires and wheels respectively. Pairing this JMEV EV3, we have here a much larger 31.2 kilowatt-hour battery that produces 68 horsepower and 125 newton meters of torque with a CLTC range of 330 kilometers. And now those figures are staggering for a mini EV. Second only to that of the BYD Seagull. But having driven a lot of mini EVs recently, this is actually a lot of power for what this is. And as for the charging, I might do a separate video of this, but with my charging experience with this EV3, it's been challenging and fun at the same time, both good and in a bad way. What's special with this EV3, if we open the port, yes, this is a CCS universal type 2 charger, but this is available too with a DC fast charger. How about that for a mini EV? For the DC fast chargers, I was able to charge at Evo Xterra, so I was literally at 6% already with a lot of range anxiety. So it took me around 23 minutes to charge all the way up to 46%, and it cost around 330 pesos, which is actually pretty decent for a fast charger. And we go to the slower stuff now with the AC charger, like the ones at your house. It cannot charge in my place whatsoever because this has a capable charging rate of 3.3 kilowatts, which is a little bit higher than that of the EV2 itself. Now, when I was able to charge this at the Evro charging stations around in Ayala Malls 38, it took a while. So it was just charging at a maximum 2.5 to 2.8 kilowatts. So it took me around 2 hours to charge this up from 4% all the way to around 35%. Yeah, it took a while. So I literally closed them all myself. Now, here at the rear of this JMEV EV3, well, been a while since I've done this. Small car check. Yeah, very, very small indeed. And the rear of this, again, more of the Renault vibes, which I love about this JMEV models. And of course, you have the EV3 badge here. A lot of cladding here on the bumper and a rear fog lamp, similar to that of race cars. And once you open the boot up, this being much bigger than that of the EV2, you have a total boot space here of 177 liters. You can fit a lot of water containers, 3 circles and 4 squares to be exact, and a lot more junk here, like for your charging stuff, boxes, as such, and yeah, the lot. So underneath, I don't think there's anything, just for your tools for your changing the tires itself, and party piece like that of the EV2. So if you fold the rear seats, it's one whole piece. So this is around more or less 350 liters, which is again very decent for this category of mini EVs. And it's hilarious too with the sound of this tailgate closing because it's very soft, but that's already locked. So I just tend to slam it just a little bit harder for security reasons. Now, here in the interior of this JMEV EV3, and unlike some of the mini EV models, there is no push start button whatsoever. So how to turn this on? Literally, just press the brake, And wait for the ready sign here. In the infotainment system, now this system is on. Please open the aircon. Okay. And like that of the EVT, on top of the dashboard, you have an air conditioning vent. But, wait, shut you up first. The flow of the air actually goes here in the infotainment system rather upwards. It was a little bit challenging for me to drive this on a rainy day. So it creates this moisture around here in the windscreen, which is a little bit distracting. But the rest is pretty okay. And yet again, like most cars nowadays, everything is controlled here in this 10.2-inch infotainment system. There is no Apple CarPlay nor Android Auto, but you have Carbit Mirror Link, which is a nice touch. There's somewhat a lot of stuff you can do here, like for your driving modes. So we have 3 modes: Eco, Normal, and Sport, plus iPedal mode, but I find that a little bit too harsh for my liking. This is iPedal on, no foot on the brake. Oh, too much. And then here's for your vehicle info, like for the state of charge and average energy you've used. And there's a lot more stuff here in the settings. And these are for your air conditioning. So like most of the Chinese vehicles out there, the air conditioning system takes a lot of fan speed in order for this to get cool. But hey, it gets cold really, really fast here in this EV3s. Hence, this is a very small vehicle. And the big plus with this EV3, you have a 360-degree camera. How about that? There's very few cars in this segment that has this feature, and the response time is pretty good for a small vehicle like this. And I love the top-down view. Very accurate when I'm parking, usually around in tight spaces. I'm literally as is like what's displayed here on the screen itself. And yeah, pretty standard here. Then just like for your Wi-Fi settings. And here on the left portion of the infotainment system, you can see your driving modes, the level of the regenerative braking, your gears, and then for your odometer and trip computer, plus the most important parts for your battery percentage and the range itself. So again, a little bit weird for my liking only that I have to look here just a bit to see how fast I am going and what gear I am. But I got used to it pretty quickly. And with all of the tech stuff out of the way, here in the door card, yeah, a lot of plastics here and there, but at least you have leather soft pads for your elbow. And for once, the interior trims match the exterior color almost. But hey, at least it's a nice color combination. Here on the left side, you have your headlight leveler adjustments and one compartment here only, enough for like RFIDs. As such, steering wheel, again, I like the part here below the steering wheel, and here are your buttons for your volume and phone connectivity stuff. Some of them too on the right side, and for adjusting for the odometer and trip computer only. So if you want to reset something, like for the trip, just long press this and it will go back to 0. And there's another mode here to just literally press it to 0. Normal stocks here, and like that of the EV2, it's almost as basic as you can get, just the additions of the stuff here in the infotainment system. And glove box, pretty small, but it's fine, at least there is. And seats here, almost the same like that of the EV2. You get the color match trim running across through the middle, and seating here is pretty okay. Bolstering, not so much, but even though these are fabric seats, it's very comfortable to sit and even perfect for my neck. Keeps me straight at all times. And now here in the middle, so here up front, you get one 12-volt socket and 2 Type-A USB ports and a very large compartment, enough for putting stuff like this. Gear shifter, I don't know why the piece all the way to the right side, so gotta watch out for that. But I'd like the JMEV logo at least. And your hazard button is here. A much better position than that of the EV2, and extra space here too in the middle, along too with the electronic parking brake. So like that of the EV2, just put your bag here as such. And whoops, one cup holder only for the rear occupants, and that's pretty much it. And above here, halogen lights, visor, vanity mirrors on the passenger's side, my mistake. These don't extend, wow, but at least you have a ticket clip holder, at least. As for the rear of this EV3, it's pretty much the same like that of the EV2. So here in the door cards, pretty much the same like the ones in front. You get a color match leather trim here for your elbows at least. And unlike that of the EV2, since this has a longer chassis and wheelbase, the space here is a lot more than usual. My headroom, so I'm only 5'4", but hey, the fit in room is actually really good. So even I have friends here who are like almost 6-footers, they were safe here at the rear. They can slouch a bit, but still gives you a comfortable experience, because the rear seats again are like the ones in front. It's cloth, but everything is very soft and comfortable to sit in. And that's the only toys here at the rear, because there's no central armrest, and you have that one cup holder in case like that of the EV2 you're gonna put your favorite Starbucks drink. Yeah, it's perfect for the middle. And if I sit here in the middle, in only case you need the 5th passenger, it's pretty much doable. You have a transmission tunnel. It's really wide. You can simply just put your feet up here. And since I said this, you have isofix anchor points right here, and be good. If you have watched recently my review of the JMEV EV3, this is a massive step from the latter. Like that with the rest of the mini EVs, this has a very light steering feel, so this is going to be very easy to drive for first time users, and as well being a very small vehicle with a short wheelbase. Once again, you have a very good turning circle. And what I like with this EV3 compared with that of the EV2, since again having more power, driving this on the highway is very much stable. And what I noticed too, above 85 kilometers per hour ish, I can feel already this is lacking a little bit of power if you're just gonna hit the national speed limit. So I see this 80 kilometer per hour being the sweet spot of this vehicle. And with that, the NVH is really good. Yes, there may be tire noise, but it just depends on the type of surface. But here around in Green Hills, running 40 kilometers per hour, yeah, it's actually really good for a mini EV. Power is again adequate for daily use, and again being the second most powerful one in the mini EV segment. This is actually really fun to drive. And speaking of, the ride of this is a little bit more balanced now than usual. The ride is not too hard nor too soft. It's just right smack in the middle. But having just driven the EV2, because that was just my previous layout before this EV3, this has a little bit more stiffness now than usual, as I'll demonstrate here over a hump. But at least though, you don't feel any type of suspension thuds and whatnot. But if you're going to drive this around in the twisties, this is actually very fun to drive. And here, as being demonstrated on a 4-lane, completing the U-turn in just using 3 lanes, actually really impressive. But that is given with all of these mini EVs. Again, everything is very small. And what I've discovered to having driven this for more than a week now, so when I was almost able to fully charge this vehicle at around 95%, the regen only kicks in at less than 65%, which I find very weird, because some of the EVs tend to have their regen already open around 95 or even 90%. This one's just a little bit lower than usual, and I cannot find any system to deactivate or activate rather the regenerative braking. And speaking of regenerative braking, there are again 3 levels, but this is among one of the mildest ones I've ever encountered, because this is level 3, and look, 19 kilometers per hour, 18, 15. It's very slow. That's why I left it there at all times, but it's still not as in your face compared with some of the EVs out there. So that's why I got the hang of this pretty quickly. And with this EV3, even though you have very mild regenerative braking system, it kind of keeps you in check and makes you want to drive this a bit more. So I'm more focused on brakes. I'm not relying on the regen system whatsoever, making this again more fun to drive than usual. Since you have 3 levels of regenerative braking, you have as well 3 driving modes. So again, we have Eco, Normal, and Sport mode. Eco mode's like some of the mini EV vehicles out there. It's a little bit tame with power, but it just keeps you at a top speed of 62 kilometers per hour, which I left most of the time when I'm driving in the city. Then we put it to normal mode once we're around at the highway, and as well if you want to hit the national speed limit, just to keep you safe on highway cruising. And sport mode is just like that. So here on a clear road, let us turn now a sport mode. And speaking of, while I was indicating, you have corner cameras as well equipped for this EVT. And here now, sport mode. Yep, it flies. Wow! 0 to 60 kilometers per hour in 5.8 seconds. Remember, kilometers per hour, not miles per hour. So if I try to do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, I feel like this is around in the ballpark of 12 to 13 seconds, which is again the same like with every other mini EV in this class. But the 0 to 60 is actually really impressive. And now at 788,000 pesos, this is actually a steal. And like that of its closest rival, this is just more or less 100,000 or even more than 100,000 pesos less than that of the BYD Seagull. It is actually your choice on what mini EV you like, but if you want to have a little bit more savings than usual, look no further with this JMEV EV3 because it's got the power, it's got the practicality, surprisingly, even though this is strictly a 4-seater. You have a good enough of boot space as well, and the range is okay too for this class. Yeah, and that concludes my review of this JMEV EV3. Again, I'd like to thank JMC Philippines for the lend out of this JMEV EV3. It's a bit of a tongue twister once again, and I'd like to thank them so much for entrusting me this vehicle for more than a week. Sport mode, one more time. So, hope you guys like and subscribe, and I will see you with more EV vehicles coming to the channel. Bye-bye.